Baylor, and Lombardo. We have all committee members present whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Bignano. We will call the Budget Finance Committee meeting to order. We do have all members present. I have a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting, please.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor, let it go by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a headline today. First item is an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of notes in a maximum principal amount of $5 million in anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay the costs of the renovation of the Oliver Ocasek building for use as office facilities for the city and the state, and for use as the new Akron Municipal Court administrative facilities, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a bond ordinance for the remaining financing needed for the Ocasek project. So when the project was first laid out, we issued about $21.5 million of bonds, and then the remaining portion of the funds were going to come from the money that the courts had accumulated over several years in the Special Projects Fund. So at the time we issued the bonds, it was contemplated that we would put $15 million of city contributions from the Special Projects Fund into the project. At the time we ended up having to make that contribution, there was only about $13 million in the fund, and that difference is due to the fact that we didn't collect as much of those revenues during the COVID period. So we are making up that $2 million from that portion right now with this bond. It was always contemplated that we would make up whatever that difference is at the end once we knew what we needed to put in at the end of the project. The other portions of the bond we're going to issue $5 million are from, so we had some IT costs that originally we're going to try to do in-house with the city. It was determined at the beginning of the project that that wouldn't be feasible, so we ended up rolling that into the construction contract. And then there's some other just changes in the way the space was finished that had some extra costs. And then finally we had the piece that we had here a couple weeks ago with the moving of the files, the clerk's office files, which is approximately $400,000. So we're financing those costs with this bond. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Refresh for me, I know they tell us every year at the budget hearings, what was the courts, their kitty, their fund there that they had, how much did they bring to this?
So during pre-COVID, that fund was bringing in about $1.6 million. And then since COVID, it's been, it was below $1 million, I think in 2020 and 21. So it hasn't, it's probably back up to about $1.2, $1.3 million now, but it has not returned to pre-pandemic levels yet.
Okay, thank you. Questions from committee members? Mr. Malik?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Fricker, for the explanation. Could we get an emailed breakdown of what those costs are for the total $5 million?
Okay. Yeah.
So it's $2 million in the difference from the municipal court fund,
it's
and
$2
then
million.
It's $3 million.
Correct. Yeah, $2 million from the court fund. There's bulletins that are basically represent change orders for about $1.8 million, and then there's also the file moving cost is about $400,000, and then a little bit of extra just to make sure that we're good for the end of the project.
I understand the process, and we've already have significant bond outlay for this. So, but is there any consideration as to, especially with that money from the municipal court clerk's office, right, the file transfers, are there any other funds that could help support this, like the AMSIS fund or anything like that?
So the AMSIS fund is currently being used to support the new Tyler case management system. And in fact, on the judge's side of that fund, the balance is really down to where we're really just using the annual revenues in that fund. So they've drawn their balance down to where they really don't have much of a, a balance going into the year. So we're using kind of the annual revenues within that fund. The clerk's office does still have, some balance, but as I said, most of that is dedicated towards the Tyler case management system that the courts are putting in right now.
Okay. And then can you talk a little bit about when these bonds will be offered and kind of the timing behind that?
Yes, so we will actually purchase these in-house, so we will, which we've done typically with assessment bonds, and then later this year, we do anticipate taking some of our note debt out to long-term financing, and this will probably be part of that long-term financing.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Malik, other questions? From committee members or any other members that are either online or in chambers with us? Okay. Mr. Fricker, we have 3 bond issues here. What would be your pleasure on these if we move forward?
I think consent is fine for this.
Suspension on this?
Consent is fine on this. Yeah.
Consent, okay, thank you very much. So, if there are no further questions, hope I'm not missing anyone, do we have a motion for consent?
So moved.
Motion for consent. Second.
I heard a motion and a second. All in favor of placing this item on the consent agenda, please let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll see this item placed on the consent agenda. Next, we have an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a bond of the city in a principal amount not to exceed $12 million for sale to the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund of the state of Ohio to finance the cost of sanitary sewer reconstruction 2023 lighting project. Being certain revenues from the city's wastewater system on a coordinated basis to secure the payment of the principal of and from the bond, and authorizing the execution and delivery of the bond, the trust agreement, and other documents, and the taking of other action related to the issuance and sale of the bond and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So these are WPCLF bond issuances. Both this piece and the next piece, really, they're not really CSO projects as much as they are kind of annual improvements to the existing sewer collection system. So this is for, both of these are related to pipe lining projects. So while they're not CSO related, they're nevertheless improvements to the sewer system that will have a useful life of several decades. So these are eligible for 45-year bond financing. So that's the avenue that we're using to finance these projects.
So, as opposed to using money out of our sewer capital, we're issuing a bond for some of these longer-term projects?
That is correct.
Okay. Questions or comments from committee members? Questions from any other council members in chambers or online? Okay, very good. I hope I'm not missing anyone, but do we have a motion for consent?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor, please let me know by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. All right, thank you. We'll place this item on the consent agenda. Next, we have an ordinance authorizing the issuance of a bond city in a principal amount not to exceed $3,500,000 for the sale of the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund of the state of Ohio to finance the cost of Springfield Lake Pump Sewer Lining Project. Take certain revenues from the city's wastewater system on a coordinated basis, secure the payment of the principal of and interest on the bond, authorizing the execution and delivery of the bond, the trust agreement, and other documents, and taking other action related to the issuance and sale of the bond, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is similar to the last piece. This particular one is specific to the Springfield Lake trunk sewer lining, whereas the last one was really kind of citywide sewer lining projects. So the bond amount is $3.5 million on this one.
Okay. Questions from committee members? Questions from any of the council members with us? Okay, looking for a motion to place this item on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? This item will be placed on the consent agenda. Item 5 will withdraw. Item 6, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Human Resources or her designee to enter into a contract or contracts without the formality of advertising for bids with Minuteman HR Risk Management Services LLC for the provision of workers' compensation, third-party administrator services, and declaring an emergency.
Hello. Can you hear me? Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you. So Yamini Atkins here for the Department of HR. This is a contract with Minutemen, which is our third-party administrator for our workers' compensation. And the way in which they were selected actually is we are part of a conglomerate with other cities that participate in this, and we have a third-party group called Northeast Ohio Safety Council that does the selection and tries to get our costs down so that we, as a city, we all share and it makes the cost lower for us. So that is how Minutemen was selected, and we participate in that. Barberton is also part of that. I was trying to see other local cities that are part of that. Lorraine, Parma Bay Village, some other cities are also part of that. So we are seeking to have them continue so we can continue with our claims and have our administration of those claims handled.
Thank you. At this time, I'll look to committee members for any questions or comments they may have.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you can see that Councilwoman Amobian has her hand raised.
I do now. Thank you. Mr. Logan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you explain how long we've been in contract with this organization? I understand you're talking about a package with other cities. I guess you're going to reduce costs from the bundling or something. I couldn't hear everything you said.
So we have been
Can
part.
you pull the mic closer, please?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you just said. We've been part of the Northeast Ohio Safety Council since 2020, and Minutemen has been with us, I believe, has it been since 2020?
Right, we switched to them in 2020.
I can't hear you. Can you pull the mic closer?
We moved to Minutemen in 2020.
2020. So do we do this every year?
I think that they have, this contract is for 1 year, I believe. Is that correct? So it is a 1-year contract. I think they go out and they check vendors and find the best prices yearly and bring it to us.
Yeah. I think most organizations, I know that many that I'm familiar with, have gotten reductions in their workman's comp programs. We are experiencing the same with the city of Akron.
Yes, we have reductions. We also get money back from them depending on our claims, and we work hard to keep our claims down and manage them. We have injury leave and transitional work that we utilize to keep those claims down.
Yeah, I know a lot of the claims have reduced because of the way we collect trash now and some other things we used to do manually. So that's helped us tremendously.
Yes, as Stacy stated, we do a variety of, internal checks and make sure we manage the whole process very carefully. We have a person that manages this internally. We utilize the help of our third-party administrator which has been Minutemen, and are able to keep those claims down. And we do get back costs from them in rebates. Is it right through the rebates that we get them back, I believe?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. For any other hands that might be posing a question, yes, Mr. Malik.
If there aren't any other comments, I'd make a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for suspension of the rules to issue a favorable report this evening. All those in favor, please let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, thank you. We reviewed that item that brought before this evening. And finally, we have an ordinance authorizing the Director of Human Services or ZE to enter into a contract or contracts with functionality of advertising for this with Faust Psychological Services Incorporated, the administration of psychological examinations and evaluation, safety personnel, and other candidates, and declaring an emergency.
Yes, and this is another contract that the HR department utilizes. Psychological services are generally for our safety forces. As part of the hiring process, they have to undergo, as part of their conditional offer, they have to successfully complete a psychological examination. And for years, the city had utilized Summit Psychological. In 2021, we started looking around for other psychologists to be utilized. We were trying to have a psychologist that didn't just focus on one form of testing. We wanted to have it be a little broader so that we really can be a little more inclusive in how we are asking questions, the type of testing we're utilizing. We were able to meet with Dr. Faust, and we do have a flyer here we can pass around if we want to see what his services are about, but Faust Psychological Services does meet the requirements that we were having at the time, and they have been doing a very good job for us. So we would like to continue utilizing Dr. Faust and his team.
Okay, questions or comments first, beginning with committee members, please. Mr. Malik.
So this would extend the contract for a year, is that correct?
I believe it is a year contract. Well, we utilize them actually as needed.
Sure.
So it's not a specific amount. It depends on what applicants we have. So we just maintain the contract and would renew it yearly at a certain amount, amount that's provided.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Logan.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Do we ever conduct any kind of survey or something of staff just to see how pleased they are with the service?
We have not conducted any type of a, audit or survey. We do just generally make sure that as part of our hiring process, we are continuously reviewing the process to make sure that we are considering all the information properly, are interpreting the information properly, and are looking at the various factors in HR that we do to make sure that we have a good group of candidates and that we are being inclusive and considering all the factors properly for selection. So that is a continual check on our end as an HR department.
We
Yeah,
also,
I'm just curious.
Go ahead.
I'm just curious. I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I was going to say that we also meet with the police chief, because we really just use this for police, but we meet with them regularly with the consultant just to check in and see how things are going and if they need to, or asking for any changes or any updates to the process.
I'm just curious. I know that this information has to be done confidentially. It's just that I'm always curious as how many people actually use EPA or EAP services, and those that do, I just often wonder if they are getting what they need from these providers. So
This is
just
different.
keep that in mind that sometimes a confidential survey may be helpful just to see if people are actually. Sometimes people just kind of not wanting to do it based on what they may hear from other folks, but just curious as to how satisfied they are.
Yeah, I certainly understand what you're saying. The EAP process is an internal process for any employee in the city that they can utilize for any type of services, mental health services and/or other services that they offer. This Dr. Faust's psychological team is for purposes of hiring only, that we utilize it for our law enforcement officers in the city.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Lobian. Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Malik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If there aren't any further comments, I'd make a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
So, second, I'm
We
sorry.
have a second. All in favor of a favorable report with the suspension of the rules, please let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, we'll see that this item is brought before tonight. And with that, Ms. Vivian, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's all we have, am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. We will adjourn at 3:21 p.m. Good evening, everyone.
That is the final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet at 7 p.m. tonight. Thank you.